It's working? Oh. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our session today. So today I'm going to be picking the brain of this man. We're going to be looking at how JD Sports has put customer identity at the heart of their loyalty program. And the reason this topic is really important today, especially during our economic climate, is that we're all trying to build that elusive customer 360, but it's becoming increasingly complex because leveraging customer data effectively to do things like personalization, to engage with customers, to drive loyalty, that's just become ever so much more difficult. So today we're going to dive in how JD has tackled this problem head on. So we're going to start off with some introductions. I'm Jessica Riccio. I'm a Senior Solutions Marketing Manager at Okta, and I will be your moderator for today. So does anyone here with a show of hands know who Okta is? Bravo, but it's fine. For those of you that don't know who we are in the market of identity and access management. And what that is, simply put, is we try to transform how people move through, engage with, and experience the digital world and access digital properties. And what we try to do is really find that balance between user experience, privacy, and security, okay? So now we're going to get to the star of our show. Sam, thank you for joining us. You've really been elemental and impactful in really driving change on how JD approaches customer engagement and loyalty. So tell us a bit about yourself and your role.
I'm Sam Hopkinson. I work at JD Sports, as Jessica said. Joined there about 5 years ago, being the first person to head up mobile apps for the group and how we move our customers over from shopping on web onto the app and all the kind of benefits that come with that. And that developed over time into our loyalty scheme, which is JD Status, which is another app-based proposition, which we will talk about a lot today. So we launched that in the UK using Okta as our identity management solution last October, and we've just rolled that into France as our move into Europe, which we're going to expand across all of our major European markets as 2025 progresses.
Cool. So, we're going to start our chat today, and I think we should start with the market and how this is affecting, how the economic climate is affecting JD. Because when it comes to customer engagement and loyalty, it's a competitive market out there. It has always been for retailers, but it's even more so today. And by that I mean that we are seeing a trend in the UK that research shows that customer retention and loyalty, they're on a downward trend. We're seeing that a study has shown that more than 86% of customers are willing to leave a brand just after 2 bad experiences. And by bad experiences, we're talking about things like poor quality UX and inadequate personalization, okay? And we're seeing this happening more often at the beginning of the journey. And what this tells us is that brands seem to be focusing more in this climate, especially retailers, on acquisition rather than retention. And the problem that this is causing is that they are not focusing or investing as much resources into nurturing and engagement programs. And the problem is that this is going to drive down your LTV versus CAC ratio, which drives down revenue, because at the end of the day, we know that 50 to 80% of revenue in most organizations is actually coming from your most loyal customers. So with this said, how are you navigating these challenges and these trends, and especially how has this impacted JD when it comes to customer retention and driving loyalty and engagement?
So JD Status itself is born out of a need to serve our customers better. That is the underlying principle behind why we launched our loyalty scheme and what we want to do with it. Now, it is a cashback scheme, so we've seen that it has positive impacts on things like average order value, items per basket, all those kind of things. But they can be very short-term effects if you're not careful with them. And what we actually want to drive is repeat custom along with those metrics, which, as you say, then leads to a better lifetime value. And to be able to do that, we need to understand the customer better and know what they want to purchase from us, when they want to purchase from us. And that all comes from the data at the end of the day. So And as you said about the economic climate as well, we're in the non-essential retail space where a lot of the reaction to that has been our competitors just running constant discount events, offering older stock, offering cheaper stock. That is not where JD Sports plays at all. We want to work with our brand partners to bring the best products we can to market, and that does come at a cost to our customer. But we really believe that people are moving away from that thing of just wanting to buy cheaper. There's the old adage of buy cheap, buy twice. We're not in that space. We want to bring you premium products, but to do that, we need to understand what you want, because we are asking you to spend your money with us at a time when money is tight. And again, that comes to the data, knowing what you want to buy, know how you want to buy it, and getting all those interactions with the customer correct.
So, from what I'm understanding then, the data is really critical to the JD Status app.
Yeah.
So what is your data strategy? Like, how are you fitting this all into your omni-channel experience? Because you have retail stores, you have online, so how does that all tie into that?
Yeah, so that was another one of the big challenges we had. So as with many organizations, our data was very siloed. We found it hard to speak to a customer in the same way on a paid channel versus a CRM channel versus any other channel we spoke to them to. So JD Status came together as being really the single source of truth for our customer. Add to that the fact that we are quite a traditional bricks and mortar retailer. We still take more money from our retail stores than we do online. And we know what we were selling in those stores, but we had no idea what a customer was buying on an individual basis, how many times they were coming. So JD Status, you get the same rewards regardless of whether you shop online, you shop in store, you scan in store to get your rewards. And obviously you get those rewards. The kickback for us is now we've got a whole new data set. We can see the 360 view of the customer, what they buying online, what they buying in stores, what stores are they visiting, all of these things that we just couldn't see before. So, and that is vital to serve our customers better, but it also means we can work with our brand partners better as well, because we've got segments of customers that we can say they can speak to. We didn't know who they were before in anything like the same way. And I just think in our retail space, it's just getting more and more important to understand that customer and that data, especially with all the challenges around third-party tracking and cookies thing. Retailers who get it right will win on multiple fronts, I think. You can serve the customer better, you can work with your brand partners better, and it also opens up other opportunities in terms of things like retail media and all the revenue streams around that, because you've got much better understanding of the customer, you can segment it better, and your campaigns will perform better. So, as you say, everything that underlines JD Status is the fact that we want to know more about our customers, but in a way that helps us serve us better and not just in getting data for data's sake.
Yeah, so I'd like to unpack a lot of what you said there. Give me a sec. Because what you're saying here is that obviously customer data strategy is very critical, but I'm seeing today and talking to a lot of our customers, but also a lot of research that we've done on the market, is that businesses are facing challenges when it comes to building effective customer experience programs and KYC with customer data, so having customer data at the heart of that. And one of the major challenges that we're seeing is friction. And friction at data collection, and this could look like many things. It could look like complex login and registration processes, so actually putting access barriers right at the beginning of your customer journey. This could also look like asking too questions too early on in the journey, so being very impertinent, and also there's no emotional IQ there. We're also seeing businesses actually engaging or personalizing to customers using third-party data. And today we know that third-party data is not accurate. We're also seeing, as you just mentioned, businesses using first-party data because they know that's better, or data gold, right? Or zero-party data to personalize. But then they run into what I like to call the personalization versus privacy paradox. That is that customers, because they're aware, they are privacy conscious, they will not share their information if there's no incentive, if they're not incentivized to do so. So with that said, because I'm assuming in your role that you're thinking about this every day, right? So what are your insights? What is your position regarding first-party data friction, and how are you guys dealing with all of that?
So, yeah, as you say, this is what I'm thinking about most days when I'm at work. So, first thing is, I think, need to almost flip the conversation around customer data on its head. I think over the past few years, it's become almost a dirty word for customers that you are collecting their data and what you're going to do with it. And that works two ways. As marketers and as customers, I'm sure we've all been in a position where we've looked at a product on a website and it feels like that chases us around the web for the next 30 days. And that's just not a good way of using customer data. That is not a good desired outcome for the customer. And it's just making them hyper aware that we're collecting their data and not using it in a way that's useful for them necessarily. On the flip side of that, we've got big tech companies like Apple and Google who are putting privacy at kind of the heart of their product and marketing strategy, and almost saying that brands are the big bad wolf trying to come and get their data. So when you put those two things together, and people becoming more and more conscious of giving their data, it's just put us in a strange position at the moment, I think, where actually there's so little data to go at sometimes that ads just become more spammy, actually, because you don't know what to give to people, and they get more and more frustrated, and you just end up, as you say, in this weird paradox where data privacy comes at the expense of customer experience, and that shouldn't be the case. The two things should be able to play together properly.
Yeah, you don't need to make a choice.
But the positive part of that is, I think it's made organizations have to think much more carefully about how they do speak to customers and capture data. So if you look at cookie consents now or ATT now, you'll see a lot of things like, if you do opt out of this, you'll still see ads from us, but they'll be less relevant to you. Now that layer of transparency would have never been there a few years ago. So it's doing a lot more of those kind of things and making sure we are open and honest with the customer data and tell them why it's beneficial for us to hold that data rather than just trying to collect it in secret.
Okay, and so my next question, basically, what is JD's data strategy? How are you capturing that data intuitively and with as less friction as possible? How are you doing that?
So
Walk us through
it being friction, this is massive to us. We want fundamentally people to be able to sign up and engage with us as a brand as a starting point. So our onboarding for JD status is super light touch. We verify your phone number and we ask for one or two pieces of very basic customer information. That did spark debate. There are people in the business who thought we should collect more data up front, but I think by getting people into their journeys, you're actually going to learn more a lot of the time than by asking for that data, because once you do get through that, the first thing people do, they start browsing products, they start filtering, they start adding things to their wish list. That data has actually got a lot more integrity to it than you picking your favorite brands when you first sign up. Because again, an example I always use, if you ask me what my favorite car is, I'll probably say a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. But when I go and shop for one, that's not what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And again, in my retail space, if you ask me what my favorite brands are, I might say Ralph Lauren or Gucci or any of these things. But then I go and shop for my 4-year-old who's going to nursery, and I'm just going to search from low to high because he's going to destroy it the minute he walks through the door at nursery. So fundamentally, context is king. If you can find out what people like doing, that the occasion data is what I talk about. If you can learn more about what they do in their day-to-day lives, that's actually what's going to help you to serve them better, rather than asking quite simple questions up front and putting a barrier into all the behavior you want to drive to find out more about the customer.
So what I understand what you're trying to do is really, like I said, emotional intelligence, digital emotional intelligence, really progressively asking questions to your customer or finding out ways, but that mimics sort of how you build a relationship with a brand in real life.
Yeah. And when we do want to capture data, always come from a place where we do the use case first and the data capture second. Never want to get into a position where we're capturing data and then trying to work out what to do with it. So one thing we do try and find out quite early as part of the JD status sign up is kind of postcode or location data. But that can be really powerful for a customer, and we can tell them what your nearest store is, we can tell you what your stock is in that store, It's also really powerful to us as a business. Those things help with conversion that I've just said, but also we can see how far people are traveling to stores, and that means we can make decisions on where we might want to look as a property team to open new stores.
Yeah.
So making sure we've got those really solid use cases before we start collecting data. And if we haven't got that, we don't try and collect it, because what's the point in putting that friction in front of a customer?
So it's not random acts of data.
And then when we do collect it as well, I know one thing we were discussing before is how we collect that. So we don't just try and ask people big surveys or questionnaires and things, we gamify it when we can. So one really good example is...
I hear gamification is quite big now.
So we've got one where we do your Tinder swipe style thing where tell us if you like this shoe or not. And on the surface you might think all that does is someone tells you 4 or 5 shoes that they like, but actually you can start grouping things and saying, well, everything they like is a certain brand, or everything's high tops or low tops, and you actually get quite detailed data out of that. And by the time you combine that with purchase and browsing data, you find lookalikes for those people. Without collecting that much data from people, you can get a really powerful segmentation and targeting strategy.
So what I'm getting, or what I'm understanding, is that, I mean, a lot of businesses see personalization, privacy, and security as conflicting priorities. And it seems like you guys are really going in the right direction in consolidating and making them work the right way. So I think what I want to understand now is, can you share the impact of JD's partnership with Okta and how that has brought value for your company? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think in the past, JD has been a similar place to a lot of organizations where we've had to decide whether we buy or build our technology. And in the past, we've always built it. We've decided now that for a lot of our key things that we are going to buy it and make sure we've got best-in-class solutions that are moving on at the same pace that our business has. And Okta were a perfect kind of example of that, because we were so keen that kind of the registration and login parts of our site were as frictionless as possible. So a lot of the reasons why we picked Okta is they're hugely flexible in terms of the login options you've got. So you can do password listing, you can do passkeys, you can do biometric login, you can do single sign-on, all things that make that process so much easier for our customer to A, register, and then B, come back and log in. Other thing in terms of we can access and utilize the data in a way. We haven't got a CDP in place yet, but it's not holding us back that much in terms of we can get the segments out of there and pass them into our marketing systems. Okay. Hugely important that your kind of data security and compliance is where we need to be as such a big business, that we need to look after that customer data, and also flagging things when it looks like there is fraudulent activity from our customers. We get flagged with that straight away. Yeah. And then one of the most important things as well is the scalability of the platform. Now, we launched JD Status as a trial in 10 stores in Manchester that was supposed to last between 3 and 6 months. It was so successful that within 2 months we rolled it out to all 400 stores in the UK, and now we've launched it in France within that 6-month timescale that we thought we were going to be in 10 stores. So fundamentally, we thought we were going to have tens of thousands of customers. We've now got millions of members. And there was no performance issues with Okta. You scaled with us. You were an amazing partner for actually managing that scale up and make sure we could handle it. So yeah, they were all the key reasons why we worked in Okta and how much value we've got from it since. So, because we're running out of time, just to wrap up, what are one or two pieces of advice that you can share with this audience looking to enhance their customer engagement and loyalty programs? You know, 1 or 2 bits, how they can prioritize? Yeah, so I would say don't underestimate how important it is to get that frictionless experience at first. You can get very focused on the data collection opportunities, but if you don't get someone through that login or registration part, then you might as well forget about the rest. So making that as frictionless as possible and collecting data afterwards is hugely important. As I said, always start your data strategy with the use cases. Don't capture data and then try and work out what you're doing with it afterwards. Start with the use case and then work out what data you need as a result of that. And then finally, just be more open and honest with your customers about why you're collecting data, how it can benefit them. And what you'll find is you'll get a lot more data. the value exchange is clear, and that becomes a virtuous circle then. You'll retain them better, they'll shop more often with you, you'll get more data, and it just goes round and drives your business performance as you want to. So
couldn't agree more that transparency is key.
yeah, absolutely.
They really need to know, yeah. So we've come to the end of our talk. So thank you so much. If you guys want to continue this conversation, if you have any questions, we're actually right there, so right across. I'd be happy to discuss further with you. So thank you so much, and wish you all a good day.
Cheers.
Thank you.